The Sci-Fi Movie Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Sci-Fi Movie Podcast, digging deeper into the sci-fi films that we all love. My name is Rem.
And my name is Ian, and this time we explore Alien from 1979, directed by Ridley Scott.
Some of you may have figured out we're not home yet. We're only halfway there. Mother's interrupted the course of our journey.
Why?
Yeah. She's programmed to do that should certain conditions arise. They have.
Like what?
Seems she has intercepted a transmission of unknown origin. She got us up to check it out.
A transmission? Out here?
Yeah.
What kind of a transmission?
Acoustical beacon that repeats at intervals of 12 seconds.
SOS.
I don't know.
Human?
Unknown.
Set in the year 2122, the commercial space tug Nostromo is en route back to Earth. While the crew is in deep cryosleep, the Nostromo's computer, called Mother, intercepts a beacon coming from a nearby planet. In the event of such a discovery, Mother is programmed to wake the crew and investigate. There may be an opportunity to rescue survivors, but what they find will have the crew fighting for their very own survival. Welcome to the Whaling Corporation, where the cornbread is awful and your employer considers you expendable.
Ian, I have to tell you a quick story about this film.
Okay.
I was about 14. My brother and sister snuck me into the theater. Somehow I got past the usher, and I saw Alien in the theater, and I loved it. It scared the daylights out of me. Such a good film, but it's really scarred me for life, I think.
Oh, I hear you, and it scarred a generation of people. In the 70s was actually kind of like the highlight of horror films, and this was a huge risk on 20th Century Fox's part to create a sci-fi horror movie of that depth. And at 9 years old, of course, I didn't get to see it in the theater, but when the advent of VHS came out, I finally got to see it, and when they came on the movie networks and stuff. And yeah, as a kid, I can't believe I actually watched it. It scared the daylights out of me. That little creature was just, so many things in that movie.
It really made an impression, and I think that chestburster scene, which we will talk about later on, yeah.
Oh, there's so many classic scenes in that movie.
There really are. Now, we've talked about the director Ridley Scott, and I know that you've got some concerns about his style, and we'll talk about those certainly coming up. And first, I want to ask you, with Alien, what worked?
Oh, for me, it was definitely... Believe it or not, my biggest complaint about Ridley Scott is his pacing in all of his movies. The thing about Alien is his pacing worked in this movie. It created the necessary tension from scene to scene to scene to build you up for those big moments when the pod opens up and the facehugger comes out, when the facehugger drops off and dies, and then the chestburster scene, and then the hunting as the alien is slowly, systematically taking them all down one at a time. Ridley Scott's directorial pacing at that moment, in those as the movie progressed, was spot on perfect.
Now, being that the movie came out in 1979, I think we had better attention spans. I think we were able to give more of our attention to a movie. These days, I don't think Alien would have worked on film because by today's standards, it's too slow.
It can be considered too slow, but again, if the tension is built right to those moments, it could still work. Because, like, for example, Ridley Scott did the exact same thing in Prometheus, but it didn't work because there wasn't enough tension built through those moments.
And you can look at Alien and see that is an absolute classic. I watched it a few weeks ago in preparation for the show, and I realized that it was only 35 minutes in that Kane is actually attacked by the facehugger. The chest-bursting scene doesn't happen until 45 minutes into the film. So as far as setting pace, yeah, it really took its time. And what I did like about it, because I liked the slow pace, I like how it built very slowly, and it got more dramatic and more tense, and you know something bad is going to happen, but you don't know when. And I really like that.
And that was the beauty of the Alien in the first time, because you had no idea. Okay, so the creature's dead. Like, those who had seen it for the very first time had no idea what was going up. I'm pretty sure everyone else who had already seen it were in the audience going, ooh, I can't wait to see how they react when they're all eating dinner, all nice and all happy, and then...
Yeah. I was talking to some friends about it, about what they liked, and the chest burster scene is always the one that comes up. The style of the film too, I found, was really gritty. It had a quality where the Nostromo was a ship that was used. It was greasy, it was grimy, it was wet. It was a place where people were getting things done, and it looked like the kind of ship that would make sense in space. A lot of times you see spaceships that have very, very poor, what I like to call space design. They wouldn't actually work in space.
Yeah.
But they designed a ship that looks like a commercial tug, and it's towing an oil refinery. And it looks like that's exactly what it was built to do. And to me, that sense of realism made the alien more believable.
Exactly. And it also allowed every other character in the ship to become what we like to call the everyman. So everyone identified on certain levels with each other character that was in the movie. And I mean, the computers, they were, kind of very dated at the time, but at the same time, for us as a generation in 1979 to see these monitors and stuff displaying all these incredible things was like, ooh, wow, I can't wait to see that in the future. And of course, look at what we have today.
Yeah, and I think, too, that the computers are the probably only thing I look at in this film and say, oh, that's a little dated. But otherwise, being a film set in the future, there are very few clues that really tell us that this was a film made in 1970s. Not like a film, say, that was based in, say, San Francisco, where you see the cars. And in older films, you can always tell what period of time it came from by the age of the cars. And in this case, we only had the computers to look at. But you know what? I think we were able to overlook that and enjoy the futuristic feel of it.
Exactly. And for me, it's just, again, the way they built it, they paced it, it just worked out very, very well. I can't believe that in 1979, they actually had the gall to make such a film.
So what didn't work? Is there anything about Alien that didn't seem genuine, didn't work for you, you didn't like, or didn't work for the film?
Well, for me, really, it was just about the problem I had was the alien itself at the very end in the one body shot that you actually see. It's like it's just this it looks like a guy in a suit. It does, because every other scene is just like a little hit, a hand, the mouth, the head with no eyes, that kind of thing. But that one shot, he's like, look at me, I'm coming to get you.
I'm a guy in a suit. Look at me.
Exactly. But of course, as the movies had progressed, they were able to bring in CGI and allow that to evolve.
Exactly. And we saw that happen by the time we reached Alien 3. And I liked that sense of not knowing what the creature is going to do and seeing very little of it. I think it was Alfred Hitchcock who said that it's really the person's mind that builds the tension and builds the horror.
That's right.
It's really what you don't see that you're afraid of. And if they give it to you all at once, suddenly it's not as frightening.
Exactly. And that's what the later movies had become. They still try to build up that tension, but it's just like, we know what that thing is. You don't have to try and scare us. But for this movie in 1979, it worked freaking perfectly.
There was one thing that I thought was, every time I watch the film, and I've seen it probably 40 or 50 times now, every time I see the bit where Ripley finds out what Special Order 937 is, and she freaks out on Ash, then Ash tries to kill her. I always see this typical movie trope, and I just watched it again in Terminator 3, and it's that sort of thing where here's somebody who's going to kill you. They grab you, pick you up, and throw you across the room. Instead of, killing you right there when they could, they throw you across the room. Then they build tension because they have to walk over to that person, and it sort of chews up screen time. And the way Ash was going to kill Ripley, he throws her into Dallas's bunk,
right?
And he takes a porn magazine, rolls it up, and he tries to stuff it down her throat. Again, that's Ridley Scott's pacing. The way he doesn't know how to direct action very well, in my opinion, anyway. And it clearly shows in that particular scene you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Again, the tension he's building to that moment was fantastic. But then when the big reveal happens and Ash is freaking out on her and he's supposed to just, he's an android. He should be able to just, snap her neck with a twist. But no, he just throws her across the room. And it was, again, Ridley Scott pacing situations, doesn't quite have it. But overall, though, I mean, I think we're kind of just nitpicking here. Exactly. And if that's all I've got to complain about, you know what? I'll suck it up, because the rest of the film just has me on pins and needles every time I watch it.
So apparently there's something, you found a Wikipedia thing about the alien itself?
Yeah, I was doing some research into the film, and apparently there is a Wikipedia entry for everything, the alien included. And in the Wikipedia entry for the alien, it's described as and I practiced this, an endoparasitoid extraterrestrial species. I quote,
Nice.
aliens do not have a technological civilization, but are predatory creatures with no higher goals than the propagation of their species and the destruction of life that could pose a threat. End quote.
Wow.
A very pure, driven creature. And it's like Ash said when he talked about how the creature was unencumbered by guilt or remorse or delusions of morality.
Ash, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
What was your special order?
You read it. I thought it was clear. Bring back life form. Priority 1. All other priorities rescinded.
What about our lives, you son of a bitch?
I repeat, all other priorities are rescinded.
There's gotta be a way of killing it. How? How do we do it?
You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Perfect organism. Its structural perfection is matched only by its hostility.
You admire it.
I admire its purity, a survivor, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality. I can't lie to you about your chances, but you have my sympathies.
It reproduces, and that's all it does.
Exactly. But also it was later on revealed in the mythos as it expanded that possibly this species itself was genetically engineered to be a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that very primal instinct that they have is to reproduce, kill anything that causes a threat. That became a weapon unto itself. And of course, humans, when they see something like this, and that's why Ash was programmed to just, switch off and go into conceal mode, keep the creature for that very interest of, hey, let's see if we can make a biological weapon out of it.
Keep it for the company.
Exactly.
Well, we're already getting feedback on the show, and I really want to take a moment and thank a person who actually introduced me to you, Ian. And her name is Amaris. She's been a friend on Facebook, and I remember meeting her some months ago when we were both
Wonderful artist.
Wonderful lady, too.
Oh, yes.
We were both in Monk Stationery, and I was getting some printing done for the Peninsula Players. Mm-hmm. And she was getting some printing done for the Roost, who she was doing promotional work for. And we got talking and had a chat and kind of connected. And when I mentioned on Facebook I was looking for someone to do co-hosting with me for a sci-fi podcast, she mentioned you. So I got in touch with you, and a couple of handsome bald guys who love talking about science fiction, and the rest is history. So a big thanks to Amaris for bringing us together, man.
Oh, it's so awesome. Yeah, she knows how much of a huge nerd I am in terms of sci-fi. In fact, I would have movie nights, and you know how many times I begged her, come on, you gotta go see this movie and this movie and this movie, and she's just such a busy girl. She has no time, but that's okay.
But you did have time to give us some feedback.
Oh, really? Okay.
We got some feedback on our Facebook page, which is Sci-Fi Movie Podcast. And we always invite people to go onto the site, go to the Facebook page, let us know what they like about the show, how we can improve it, what kind of movies they'd like us to review. And when Amaris found out we were doing Alien, we were looking for feedback, and she says, no matter how many times I see this flick, and I know when something is going to happen, I always jump.
Exactly. You know what? That's true of everybody. That's true of everybody when they watch this movie. Even though you've seen it a million times, you yourself, you said you saw it 40 times. I'm sure you know a scene is coming. You're still going to jump.
So for production notes, there's a lot to talk about with this movie, Ian. Where do we want to start with this?
Well, one of the biggest things I found fascinating was the budget itself. The budget at the time was $9 million to make that movie. Yeah, it was half the budget of Star Wars, for crying out loud.
$9 million.
Yeah, and apparently its original script title, believe it or not, was Star Beast.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
That's unfortunate.
I just like the idea of Alien. Star Beast, that has been something like right out of the 1950s. And that is a big thing about Alien. Prior to that film, all most sci-fi horror movies were, that came from Planet X. So exactly. Star Beast would have so fallen into that.
Wait a minute, this movement seems to have life. Organic life.
Of course, one of my favorite parts, and this is the most amazing aspect of Alien from a cultural perspective, is that the design was by Hans Rudolf Geiger. H.R. Geiger, right? So he was part of the special effects team that helped win Alien an Academy Award for Best Achievement in for Visual Effects that particular year. And his influence in that movie and in our culture as an artist has been astounding post-Alien.
It really is amazing, too, when you see the work of Geiger, because you know it's Geiger. Mm-hmm. And like we had mentioned in the Dune cast, because he had done some work on Dune there, seeing the Alien and its design, I'd never seen anything like this before, and I'd never seen any artwork by Geiger before. And to see a creature like this, there was an interesting piece about the fact that the creature first had eyes in the illustrations.
Really?
But Geiger insisted that when they build the actual puppet for the movie, that it should have no eyes.
Well, that makes sense because, the eyes are the window to the soul. So by having it with no eyes, we think it has no soul. So it's more menacing.
Just an absolute killing machine.
Yeah. It was always theorized that it was like using radar to detect people.
Yeah, and you'd have to wonder, would it navigate by sense of smell? Would it move by sound? If this thing doesn't have eyes, how does it get around?
Exactly. And of course, the dark didn't mean anything to it because it probably had some kind of like maybe 360-degree sense emanating from its giant skull.
Maybe a higher sense of awareness that is something responsible for making him such a good predator.
Exactly. And just one of the most interesting aspects, again, not just in the design of the alien creature itself, but in the entire production design, when they end up meeting with what they call the star jockey, the pilot, the giant pilot that's in that spaceship that they discover with all the egg pods all over the place.
Right.
Again, that whole thing was designed by Geiger. His influence is like from top to bottom in that entire movie, and of course that stretched out into so many other creatures that they've tried to design and top over the last 40 years.
And safe to say, if they didn't have Geiger doing that, I think Alien would have a very different look, and I wonder if it would be as popular or well regarded.
Oh, definitely not. If it wasn't for Geiger's influence on that film in terms of illustration and design, it would not have been the horrifying film it was today. I mean, imagine a creature with eyes like that, and it just throws you right off. You don't get that sense of fear, I felt.
We'll talk a little bit later on about the legacy of Alien and what it spawned, and movie trivia is coming up.
Am I Claire Lambert? I want to get the hell out of here.
Oh, God, it's moving right towards you. Move, get out of there. Moving towards you, move. Down, move down. Move down, get out. Oh, no, not that way, the other way, God.
Dallas?
No.
Take it easy. Dallas?
Well, one little bit of trivia that I found out lately was that The Who was actually testing some lasers for their next tour right where Alien was being filmed in London. And
Nice.
so they actually got the movie to test out the lasers when they were using them for certain shots, especially in the space jockey scene.
So that when Kane went down into the ship and saw that mist and the blue laser, that was from the Who?
Yeah, the Who we were testing out their lasers. Hey, go ahead, borrow them for a sec, see if they work.
Apparently, it was considered the second scariest movie moment of all time on Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments.
Really? Just number 2?
Just number 2.
I can't believe that, because that scared the daylights out of me as a kid.
I know.
What was number 1?
I'm still in counseling because of it.
What in the world was number 1? What could beat that?
Well, remember a little film called Jaws?
No way.
Yeah, apparently the shark attack is seen in Jaws is classified as the scariest moment in movie history,
Wow,
according to Bravo.
Okay, that's Bravo, but I'm just, wow. Yeah. So the biggest question that I have to ask you on that one is, well, which way would you like to die?
Oh, good question.
You having something burst out of your stomach and, tear you up from the insides, or the shark?
The shark or the alien? Wow, is there a third choice?
No.
Okay. I think I would take the alien because I think that would probably happen faster and you'd be in pain less. For a shorter period of time. Where when you get sucked underwater, the shark is chewing on you and you're bleeding and you're drowning and you know it's a shark.
Good point. And you're about to die.
Exactly. But with the alien, you're thinking, oh, maybe just a little bit of heartburn here, and bam!
Oh no, not again.
So there's my definitive answer.
Okay.
If I'm going to die, I want to have an alien burst out of my chest.
Okay. I think I'd go with the Jaws moment. I just don't like the fact that something is crawling from the inside of my stomach.
I guess we'll have to agree to disagree. Now, tell me about the alternate ending. Apparently, the ending that we saw in Alien was not necessarily.
Oh yeah,
what,
Ridley Scott wanted.
planned.
He wanted something a lot more darker. He was planning on having the alien bite off Ripley's head in the escape shuttle, sit in her chair, and then start, apparently for whatever reason, start speaking with her voice in a message to Earth.
Really?
Yeah, apparently 20th Century Fox wasn't too pleased with such a dark ending. And I totally agree. I mean, this is one of those rare times I actually agree with what the suits are saying. Like, let's not go there. Let's actually have our heroine actually, escape.
So I'm just trying to picture this. So the alien would sit down and it would start talking?
Of course, that was never brought up in any other scene in the movie. So why this suddenly came into Ridley's head is beyond me. But
exactly, it doesn't. Well, full props to Ridley Scott, but that idea sucks.
Exactly. And not every idea is good either. And that's the greatest thing about the creative process. Yeah, we can look on it now with 2020 hindsight because we have this movie that we've been presented with. But during the creative process, these ideas definitely come out. And it's good to have other feedback to say yay or nay. And they made the right choice, I think.
It sounds like a really good idea that somebody steered him away from that one.
Exactly.
Well, now we're on to the casting of the movie. And one of the things that we noticed when watching Alien, and being that I was fairly young when I saw it, I didn't recognize anybody in the film. There were very few, what you might call, big names in the film. And really, Sigourney Weaver was a relative unknown at the time. She was a stage actor, and it was really Alien that put her mark on her career.
Oh, yeah, totally. It launched her career. She was a model prior to that. And Harry Dean Stanton, of course, was a B-movie actor. Everyone's seen him before in other films, but that was like his first foray into like A-list movies, if you will.
I also read that Meryl Streep was once considered for the role of Ellen Ripley. Do you think she would have done that well?
Meryl Streep can do anything, as far as I'm concerned, as an actress. But again, hindsight being what it is, I can't see anyone else in that role.
Right.
Because Sigourney Weaver, she showed two things. She showed sexiness and she showed power. And I think Meryl Streep could definitely handle the power side. No, I don't know about the sexiness. I don't know.
It's really hard to say. And we have such a clear vision of Sigourney Weaver in that role.
Exactly.
I'm sure that if you would have taken Meryl Streep and Sigourney Weaver and put them both into the same role in 1978, they both would have done great. And who knows, maybe in an alternate universe, we'd be looking back and saying, Meryl Streep was so good in Alien. I'm sure she would have done a really great job with it. But
totally.
At the same time, I really can't picture anyone else but Sigourney Weaver doing it.
And the most amazing thing was Sigourney Weaver plays this character. It becomes an iconic, feminine, strong character. Like, this is one of those rare times we actually see a female character rise up to the hero status that she was. And in many ways, that was the detriment to the series later on, because she became the focus of the series as opposed to the alien and what it can do to human beings.
Oh, well, that's a good point.
I just, when you watch Aliens, she's the focus. And I can understand that because, she's the one. She knows everything. Mm-hmm. She needs to guide these people and help steer them away from these creatures. But in Alien 3, again, now they basically reverted everything to the very first movie. Except instead of on a ship, it's on another planet. And instead of a whole whack of them, it's just one. And it just, again, they were trying to focus too much on Ripley, the character, not enough on the alien and what it can do.
Good point. And we'll talk about that in just a moment when we talk more about the legacy and where Ellen Ripley falls into in the list of heroes and villains.
Final report of the commercial starship Nostromo. Third officer reporting. The other members of the crew: Kane, Lambert, Parker, Brett, Ash, and Captain Dallas are dead. Cargo and ship destroyed. I should reach the frontier in about 6 weeks. With a little luck, the network will pick me up. This is Ripley, last survivor of the Nostromo. Signing off.
So looking at the legacy, what has Alien brought to us since 1979? Well, the American Film Institute has compiled a list of the 100 greatest heroes and villains. Apparently, our very own Ellen Ripley is included in the heroes top 10 with the likes of James Bond, Indiana Jones, Clarice Starling from The Silence of the Lamb, nice. Rocky Balboa. That's pretty good company to be keeping.
That's very good company, and she totally deserves it, especially in the first movie and, of course, in Aliens. Again, it was a starring role for a actress who had never been in such a position before. And the most remarkable thing about the actor is the fact that at the time she wasn't the big draw. Her character wasn't the big draw. You had no idea who was going to live and who was going to die when the very first time you watched the movie. So then to see her rise up to the challenge and become the hero, and that was such a huge cultural impact on us to this day.
Yeah, and in retrospect, it's good to go back and look at the film, and really the first time you see it, unless you know the characters or unless you know how it's going to end, there isn't a really big star there that you know is going to survive at the end of the film. Everybody's in danger, and anybody could go next.
And one of the most awesome things I liked about it was the alien design. The fact that this creature was so fearful. And yet, strangely enough, I can't believe this, the alien itself was only rated 14th greatest villain.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's not even the top bloody 10 for crying out loud. And yet, maybe the other movies had brought it down a notch or something. But if you just look at Alien, it's a pretty amazing creature and villain as far as I was concerned. Maybe it's its animalistic nature that brought it down. I don't know. But apparently the top three were Dr. Hannibal Lecter, number 3, Norman Bates, number 2, and who do you think number 1 would be?
Number three.
Number 1. Who would be the number 1 villain of all time?
Oh, good question. Jar Jar Binks.
No again. No. No, it was. But you're close. In the right franchise, it's Darth Vader.
Oh, okay.
Darth Vader himself, the Dark Lord of the Sith. And
yeah.
I agree with it. But I don't think Alien should have been in 14th. It should definitely be a little higher than that.
Well, Alien would go on to spawn 3 more sequels and cross over into the Predator stories. And, most would agree that the first 2 films were the best, though Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection did have a few interesting moments. The IMDb rating shows an interesting, I guess you could call it a downward trend in later movies. Turns out, according to the Internet Movie Database, both Alien and Aliens ranked at 8.5. Alien 3 came in at 6.4. Alien 4 came in at 6.2.
Yeah, it continues to drop.
And Alien vs. Predator, 5.5.
Which I actually enjoyed.
It was better than I expected it to be.
Yeah. I think I liked it more than Alien 4 for sure.
And Alien vs. Predator Requiem, a lowly 4.7.
And justly so. In fact, it could have been lower. It could have been like a 1 as far as I was concerned. Wow, that was horrible.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that one.
That was a pretty unfortunate film. AVP was tolerable, but the Requiem, it was pretty disappointing.
That's 2 hours I cannot get back.
Those will be taken from you forever.
But what we haven't seen yet, apparently, is the origin of the alien species. It's been hinted at in some of those movies. They thought, in fact, in Alien versus Predator, it's thought that maybe the Predators were involved in their origin and to keep them on Earth for whatever reason. Prometheus is a prequel to Alien, and it seems to happen about 100 years before the Alien storyline. And we're hoping that maybe that's going to get fleshed out in the possible sequel that they're thinking about doing right now.
I'm curious to see if they're going to be able to do something that's interesting, because it seems like the space between Prometheus and Alien, it looks like there's probably room for at least one, maybe two more movies before we hit the Alien time frame.
Exactly. Oh, totally. And I'm just wondering what her quest is going to be about. And again, what I found fascinating is they're trying to create another strong character, which they did, another strong female character in Prometheus. But I just thought the mythos has kind of gone left field a bit by the end of that movie.
Yeah, and I'm not exactly sure if I'm pleased how Damon Lindelof did the writing. After what he did with Lost, I'm a little bit hesitant to want to see him involved in movie franchises that I have a particular affection for.
Right.
Well, it's been really fun looking at Alien. If you want to get more information on our show notes, you can go to sci-fi-moviepodcast.com. We've got links to all the content, including the original movie trailer. And while you're at it, join our Facebook page at Sci-Fi Movie Podcast. Leave a comment, see what other people are saying. We've also posted a list of 150 sci-fi movies on our website at sci-fi-moviepodcast.com. If you'd like to have a particular movie reviewed, let us know. Tell us which one you'd like to hear us talk about. And you can help us reach more listeners by writing a quick review on iTunes. It's free, and it helps us reach more sci-fi fans. We'll be reviewing Serenity, Battlestar Galactica, the miniseries from 2003, and Forbidden Planet from 1956 soon. And we'll also tag team the two Asteroid films that literally had the same plot and came out only months apart in 1998. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We're very honored to be part of your day. We'll catch up with you soon on the Sci-Fi Movie Podcast.
The Sci-Fi Movie Podcast.